This was not a good night for the president. Everything he touched was a loser. Trump hasn't been this embarrassed since he found out there was a Donald Trump Jr. If you're tired of all the losing, fear not.
I hope that you'll forgive me if I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted.
When you mix late-night confidence with the calm authority of a former First Lady, you end up with Jimmy Kimmel and Michelle Obama delivering a double-sided takedown that leaves Trump and JD Vance looking like they wandered onto the wrong stage. Kimmel fires off jokes with the kind of precision that makes you wonder if comedy training now includes military drills. Michelle, on the other hand, uses that steady, unshakable poise that can reduce even the loudest egos into awkward silence. What follows doesn't feel like a political exchange. It feels like a national roast dressed up as polite conversation, and the emotional damage is instant and unavoidable.
It was a tough night personally for the vice president. JD Vance's half-brother, I didn't even know JD Vance had a half-brother, but he does. VD Vance lost his bid to become mayor of Cincinnati, and even though he got JD's endorsement, he lost by more than 56 points.
I want to know who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs.
Kimmel sets a new bar for the word savage. JD Vance suddenly resembles someone who earned a participation ribbon just for showing up, drifting around the conversation like a contestant from a reality show that stumbled into policy talk by accident. Meanwhile, Trump melts down with such intensity that if NASA announced they detected a sudden spike of emotional radiation, no one would be surprised. It's loud, it's dramatic, and it's the kind of meltdown that doesn't need commentary. It explains itself.
With him, he wrote, Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight. Now, if Republicans had won and he wasn't on the ballot, would he take credit for that? Oh yes, he definitely would, but he lost. And then he posted this. He posted, and so it begins, which was either a response to Mamdani winning the mayoral race or he just sat down.
Kimmel never pretends to be gentle. He doesn't whisper, cushion his words, or wrap his points in polite packaging. Every line hits with the clarity of a spotlight locked on a single target. It's fierce enough to make the room shift. Trump reacts the way he usually does, eyebrows leaping upward, gestures spinning into chaos, as if accountability itself is buzzing around his head and he's trying to swat it away. The entire exchange becomes impossible to look away from.
This morning, he threatened to delay SNAP benefits to the 42 million Americans who need them until the shutdown is over. And then his press secretary had to go out there and walk that back because he legally can't do it. It really is amazing. The president says one thing, the White House says another entirely different. It's like the one hand doesn't know what the other tiny, bruised, makeup-covered, greasy, genitalia-grabbing, Sharpie-stained baby hand.
A simple mention of legacy from Kimmel sends Trump into a tailspin, like someone replaying moments he'd rather forget. JD Vance tries to appear composed, but the punchlines hit harder each time, pushing him deeper into uncomfortable territory. Every attempt at a neutral expression cracks slightly, revealing the panic underneath. There's only so long you can pretend a national audience isn't laughing at your expense.
Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. Now he's openly rooting for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the hundreds of Americans who work for their shows who don't make millions of dollars. And I hope that if that happens, or if there's even any hint of that happening, you will be 10 times as loud as you were.
Then Michelle Obama steps into the conversation, carrying nothing but self-assurance and the kind of calm that instantly changes the atmosphere. She doesn't raise her voice or lean on theatrics. She uses measured sentences and subtle emphasis, and somehow that is more disarming than any dramatic outburst. Her presence shrinks every oversized ego in the room without her ever needing to push. It's precision work, almost therapeutic in the way it exposes flaws without sounding cruel.
Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is.
Trump tries responding, but the back and forth looks like a child arguing with a professor. JD Vance sits beside him, visibly absorbing polite disapproval like it's a slow-acting poison. Every time he speaks, the pause that follows feels like a reminder that he shouldn't have. The tension reaches the point where the audience can feel the awkwardness like static in the air. Meanwhile, Kimmel handles the chaos like he's conducting an orchestra built entirely from punchlines. His jokes slice through the room, and Trump's attempts at rebuttal only make them sharper. It's as if Kimmel is playing a multi-dimensional game Trump can't see, let alone win. The crowd doesn't know whether to laugh or cringe, so they do both.
And also, hey, you just think about how cruel a person has to be to cut off food to 42 million people. It's the kind of thing that makes you go, oh, no wonder his kids are like that. The guy who never missed a Happy Meal in his life is deciding who gets to eat in this country. So after a federal court ordered them to do it, the Trump administration agreed to pay half the benefits, which is not enough, so
Michelle's method is the opposite of Kimmel's heat, yet somehow even more devastating. She doesn't need volume or sarcasm. She relies on clarity and logic. Delivered with smooth authority, JD Vance looks completely lost beside her, like someone trying to interpret a language he's never heard before. Trump sputters through reactions, never quite grasping the point until it's too late. When Kimmel brings up history, Trump freezes as though someone referenced a subject he spent his life avoiding. JD tries to nod in agreement, but only manages to look overwhelmed. Kimmel piles on additional observations, each one sharper than the last, while Michelle anchors the moment with quiet confidence.
A known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse, all of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do, y'all. Please, do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us.
Michelle watches the unfolding chaos the way a scientist might observe an experiment confirming her predictions. When she adds her input, every sentence lands with the elegance of a well-placed reminder that logic always wins. Trump and JD don't just lose the argument, they lose their footing. Kimmel brings the explosive humor, while Michelle delivers the slow-burn reality check. Together, without even coordinating, they create a dual-layer dismantling that's impossible to escape. Trump flails, JD shrinks, and the audience takes in every moment like it's premium entertainment.
They see an entitlement that says only certain people belong here. That greed is good and winning is everything, because as long as you come out on top, it doesn't matter what happens to everyone else. And they see what happens when that lack of empathy is ginned up into outright disdain. They see our leaders labeling fellow citizens enemies of the state, while emboldening torch-bearing whites.
This whole exchange has nothing to do with polls or public favoritism. It's a raw collision between ego and intellect, performance and substance. Kimmel builds pressure while Michelle coolly releases it, and the result is a sequence of moments that leave JD Vance's confidence in pieces and Trump's expressions frozen in disbelief. Every time JD tries to recover, it's like watching someone attempt to patch a sinking boat using whatever they find on the floor. Michelle's reasoning is slow and steady, chipping away at their inflated certainty. Every point she makes reinforces the same truth. Wit backed by intelligence is unbeatable.
It's not like Trump doesn't care about people. I mean, he has a lot of empathy. He's feeling especially bad right now for the family of the newly decrowned Jeffrey Epstein pal, the now former Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew in the UK has had his royal title stripped away because of the Epstein scandal. I know you're close to the royal family there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I feel very badly. I mean, it's a terrible thing that's happened to the family. That's been a tragic situation. And
Trump reacts exactly as expected. By escalating, his voice rises, his gestures get bigger, and his frustration becomes a spectacle all on its own. But Kimmel turns each dramatic outburst into comedy, and Michelle turns each exaggerated proclamation into a lesson in emotional restraint. JD tries to step in with something measured, but compared to the energy in the room, his comment lands like a faint breeze in a hurricane. The contrast between comedy and clarity becomes the real show, with Trump and JD trapped in the center, unable to keep up.
According to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, Diddy is scheduled to be released on May 8th, 2028, just in time to run for president. Diddy requested a pardon from President Trump. You know, every so often I say something on the show that would make no sense if I heard it in like 2014. And Diddy has requested a pardon from President Trump is one of those.
The audience watches with wide eyes because this isn't just humor. It's a demonstration of how intelligence and wit can dismantle arrogance without ever breaking a sweat. Trump and JD learn firsthand that swagger and noise can only carry you so far. Michelle's calm, pointed criticism hits with more force than shouting ever could, while Kimmel's comedic timing exposes every insecurity in real time. The combination is mesmerizing. Trump will likely try to rewrite the moment later through social media, but the truth is already out there. Once exposed, you can't unexpose it. The lesson is simple and permanent. Confidence collapses when it meets well-aimed humor and undeniable logic.
For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happened.
By the end, the audience is left replaying moments in their heads because the exchange was just that sharp. Kimmel and Michelle walk away leaving a trail of verbal wreckage, not intentionally cruel, but undeniably effective. JD's attempts to salvage dignity turn into a slow-motion performance of misplaced seriousness. Kimmel predicts his points before JD can even finish them, and Michelle's clarity slices through Trump's theatrics. Trump answers every jab with a cocktail of outrage and confusion, unable to understand how charm failed him. It's almost poetic, intelligence on one side, chaos on the other, and humor functioning as a spotlight exposing everything.
I mean, that son of a bitch, you know, is really unbelievable.
Mr. Son of a Bitch.
I mean,
Mr. Son of a Bitch.
His loyal. Yes, yeah, no, I never imagined that we'd ever have a president like this, and I hope we don't ever have another president like this again. I mean, I never even imagined there would ever be a situation in which the president of our country was celebrating hundreds of...
JD Vance tries to pretend none of this is about him, but his expression betrays him every time. Michelle doesn't rush the process. She doesn't need to. Each comment she makes is quiet but weighted, landing with a force that changes the tone of the entire room. Trump's ego visibly wilts, JD's certainty dissolves, and the audience watches a masterclass in how poise and intelligence dismantle bluster. What makes it remarkable is the lack of spite. It's all clarity, delivered without malice. Kimmel brings the loud, distorted mirror of comedy, while Michelle provides the clean, polished truth. Together, they form a force field that nothing loud or defensive can penetrate. By the time it ends, JD and Trump are left collecting whatever fragments of dignity remain, wondering how quickly everything slipped out of their hands. If you want more sharp breakdowns and no-nonsense commentary, make sure you hit subscribe to 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐿 Reports, where the facts hit harder and the truth always shows up.